The moving truck hadn't even finished backing into my driveway when 3 police cruisers boxed it in like they were responding to a bank heist. No sirens, just those pulsing red and blue lights casting judgment across my new suburban street. From the side mirror, I spotted an officer stepping out, megaphone in hand. "Sir, please step away from the vehicle and keep your hands visible." I set down my coffee, more confused than alarmed, and climbed out with my hands raised slightly. That's when I saw her, Margaret Petton, president of the Maple Ridge HOA, standing on her immaculately trimmed lawn in a lavender pantsuit, phone in hand like it was a detonator. Her mouth was moving at warp speed. I could only assume some poor soul was on the other end getting a live play-by-play. The lead officer approached, the corners of his mouth twitching in amusement. "Are you Nathan Brooks?" "That's me," I replied, steady voice, steady hands. "The one with all the permits for the tiny home installation?" Margaret's smug expression evaporated. The officer extended his hand. "Officer Mike Garrett, we got a call about..." He glanced at his notes. "Suspicious activity involving an illegal structure, but I've got your permits right here." Let me rewind a bit. I'm Nathan Brooks, 35. After a decade of corporate burnout in tech, I cashed in my stock options, sold my overpriced condo, and set out to live simply. Eco-conscious, minimalist, and off-the-beaten suburban track. The land I bought sat on Cedar Creek Lane, technically inside Maple Ridge, but thanks to a decades-old property dispute, it wasn't under HOA jurisdiction. A legal loophole, a grandfather clause. The detail that turned my dream into Margaret Petton's personal nightmare. Margaret had run Maple Ridge like a suburban monarchy for 15 years. She regulated mailbox hues, garden gnome placement, and even flag angles with tyrannical precision. The woman once fined a neighbor $200 because their Halloween skeleton was too anatomically aggressive. So when I started laying the foundation for my tiny home, Margaret appeared like a storm cloud in beige pantsuits. "Excuse me," she said with the polite fury of someone who never excuses anything. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" "Installing the foundation for my home. I'm Nathan. I own this lot." Her eyes narrowed behind designer lenses. "This is a traditional single-family neighborhood." "Good thing I'm not in your HOA then," I smiled. She blinked, then walked off furiously typing into her phone. What followed was a full-scale suburban siege. Daily letters, HOA violation notices, none of which applied to my property. She even staged a neighborhood meeting with a slideshow titled "Tiny Houses Equals Tiny Values," complete with distorted photos of my future home looking like a meth lab. She claimed tiny homes would attract undesirable elements and compromise the moral fabric of Maple Ridge. My new neighbor Tom called me afterward. "You were compared to a squatter cult," he said. "It was, wild." Things escalated when I arrived to find my property roped off with cones and caution tape. A hand-painted sign read, "Construction halt, ordered by HOA." The county inspector laughed when I called him. "Let me guess, Margaret Petton," he said. The cones came down. Margaret popped up, furious. "You're tampering with official HOA markers." "Your HOA has no authority here, Margaret." Her face flushed purple. "You will not destroy what we've built with your hippie shack." "Please leave. You're trespassing." "I'm protecting the community." Her threats got louder and more specific. That's when I knew she'd take things further. Which brings us back to moving day. Margaret had called 911 claiming armed individuals were unloading suspicious cargo into an unauthorized structure. She even suggested cult activity. The armed individuals were 2 college students and Earl, a 60-year-old chain smoker with a limp. Officer Garrett was already gritting. "We found your permits, Mr. Brooks." Just then, another officer walked over. "Nathan?" "Jake!" I yelled. Jake Harrison, old high school buddy, laughed. "This guy start a cult? Not unless it involves spreadsheets and cold brew." Margaret, having creeped closer, tried one last desperate pitch. "Officers, this structure hasn't been approved by our architectural committee. It's aesthetically out of alignment." Garrett had heard enough. "Ma'am, Mr. Brooks isn't under your HOA. This is a civil matter, and frankly, your report borders on criminal." "Criminal?" she gasped. "False reports to emergency services. That's a misdemeanor." Margaret turned ghost white. Jake added, "Said you feared for neighborhood children and mentioned possible ritual behavior." "I was being cautious." "Cautious gets you a fine," Garrett said. "Up to $1,000, possibly 6 months in jail." "I'm on the HOA board." "And now you're coming down to the station." As she was escorted to a cruiser, her shrieking echoed off the houses. "This is persecution. You'll regret this when property values drop." Later that evening, Jake texted me. "She tried to pay the fine with an HOA check. Treasurer's furious." The next morning, Tom knocked on my door. "Emergency HOA meeting tonight. Word is they're voting her out." Apparently, Margaret had used HOA funds for legal threats, cease and desist letters, even to sue a dog groomer for unauthorized decals on pet strollers. $37,000 in legal expenses, all unauthorized. That night, the Maple Ridge clubhouse lit up like a Christmas tree. Tom kept me updated via text. They brought up the garden gnome incident of 2019. Treasurer just dropped the bomb, $37K in legal fees. She's out, unanimous vote. She threw her gavel at the wall. Over the next week, Margaret's raid officially ended. Her parking spot revoked, her key to the pool deactivated, her nephew's overpriced landscaping contract terminated. The HOA's attorney sent her a demand letter for reimbursement, $37,000 due in 30 days. I heard she read it at the grocery store, standing motionless in the cereal aisle, whispering, "This can't be legal," until she dropped her basket and walked out. The next morning, a "motivated seller" sign went up in her yard. A month later, her house sold at a loss to a couple who painted it bright yellow and installed a little free library. According to them, they found hundreds of pre-filled HOA citations in the attic for sins like leaning bird feeders and garage doors closing too slowly. Margaret, the Empress of Maple Ridge, now works as a receptionist for a property management firm 2 towns over. Her contract explicitly bars her from involvement in HOA affairs. And me, I sit on my tiny home's porch, sipping coffee, watching the sunset over a Margaret-free street. A few days ago, the new HOA board sent a fruit basket. The note read, "While we cannot officially welcome you as a member, we thank you for your patience and look forward to being neighborly." Sometimes justice wears a badge. Sometimes it carries a clipboard. And sometimes it shows up as a fruit basket and a yellow house that would have made Margaret faint.